Welcome to Category 5 Technology TV. It's episode number 624 of the show.
Exciting.
Now, I gotta say, while President Donald Trump doesn't know that Category 5 exists, it does. We're here to show you that Category 5 does indeed exist. And this week, we're going to be actually speaking with a gentleman who runs a company that is revolutionizing Wi-Fi technology. And I mean, we're talking about expanding your home and business Wi-Fi to bandwidth that you've never even thought about. We're going to be learning all about the tech.
I've thought about a lot of bandwidth.
Oh, you just wait, son. Stick around.
A Category 5 is something that I don't know that I've ever even heard the term, other than I know it's there.
This is Category 5 Technology TV.
Our live recordings are trusted only to solid-state drives by Kingston Technology. Revive your computer with improved performance and reliability over traditional hard drives with Kingston SSDs.
Category 5 TV streams live with Telestream Wirecast and Nimble Streamer. Tune in every week on Roku, Kodi, Plex, and other HLS video players. For local showtimes, visit category5.tv.
Category5.tv is a member of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. cat5.tv/TPN and the International Association of Internet Broadcasters, cat5.tv/IAIB.
I'm so happy to have you here, everybody. I'm Robbie Ferguson.
I'm Sasha Rickman.
And I'm Jeff Weston.
Where's Henry?
He's not here. He's actually off planet still.
Oh,
Yeah, I know.
still, eh?
I know. He's still off planet.
It's a long journey,
Yep,
folks.
But thanks to technology, we have an intergalactic connection
Oh,
where we can
fantastic.
say hi with Henry.
Oh, great. Well, here he is.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's Henry here. So I can't make it to the show. Got stuck on Mars, you see. It's a lot of red sand here. It's pretty nice. I discovered a lot of liquid water over there. It's pretty cool. But yeah, sorry I can't make it this week. Hopefully Elon Musk can give me a ride home for next week. So till then, have a great day everyone, and see you then. Oh yeah, my dog says hi. Hey Walt.
Thank you, Henry. Now, before we jump into it, I want to remind you to make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube and also click that little bell. That's going to make sure that you get those notifications anytime we post a new and exciting video or when we're live. So tonight we've got a fantastic interview planned for you. Now, Andrew Skafel is here from, he's actually the CEO, the president of Edgewater Wireless. Now, they're revolutionizing how Wi-Fi technology works in the home, in the workplace, and we're going to learn all about that tonight. Andrew, it is a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, could you tell us a little bit about what Edgewater does and how your technology is about to change things for Wi-Fi?
At Edgewater Wireless, we make Wi-Fi better. We're the industry leader in what's called Wi-Fi spectrum slicing technology for the residential and commercial markets. And it's a real disruptive approach for Wi-Fi designed to deal with capacity and the demanding applications that are emerging.
I can absolutely understand that. I mean, we work in a studio where, you bring in you're connected with Wi-Fi
Yes.
on your phone, chatting with the community here.
Yep.
You can see our Discord over there.
Yep.
I'm connected actually with you, Andrew, through Wi-Fi as well. So this communication, I mean, mind-blowing that the communication is happening through Wi-Fi, and you're also communicating with our chat
That's
on
right.
Wi-Fi, and eventually things start to get bogged down.
Yes.
And we've all experienced that at home, at work, right?
That's the way of it.
Yeah. And
Upgrade to a bigger router with more antennas.
that's when our Rokus start buffering and things just
All the buffering.
aren't quite working. So, Andrew, how is your technology special compared to like the Wi-Fi that we currently have in our homes?
What you've just described is really the traditional approach to Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
The technology's been around since 1999. And since 1999, Wi-Fi has followed the same radio architecture. It's been based on a single channel radio, one channel connecting to your device. And it's a lot like creating a single lane road.
Yeah.
Where you have one car on the road, works really well, but you start putting a lot of traffic on it, it gets really congested.
Jeff travels to Toronto, and he knows exactly what you're talking
Oh my
about.
goodness, congestion! I hate it.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. So, what we've done at Edgewater Wireless is taken a completely revolutionary approach to Wi-Fi.
Okay.
We've said, how do you deal with traffic? How do you deal with congestion?
Yeah.
And we've built and patented the industry's first and only multi-lane highway for Wi-Fi. We offer multiple concurrent channels within a given coverage area.
Wow.
So it's really designed for all of the issues that you described at the beginning of the show.
So, Andrew, I have to stop you there. I mean, we've all heard of MIMO, so multi-input, multi-output. This is where we've got our modern routers have multiple antennas. So if I want to spend a little extra, I can get something that has 4 antennas, say, and I've got 4 inputs, 4 outputs. So I am basically, from my very simple Wi-Fi understanding, I've got multiple channels or multiple radios that are giving me connection. So this is where things are going from what I understand. We've got Wi-Fi 6. We've got now Wi-Fi 6 is finally here, and Wi-Fi 7 is already basically saying that, hey, we're better and let's move toward this technology. Using MIMO, multi-input, multi-output, in order to provide multiple lanes. How does your technology approach that? How is it different?
So MIMOs are some really cool engineering.
Yeah.
What MIMO does is take that single channel and spreads the broadcast out over multiple antennas. So the multiple output, multiple input.
Yeah, okay.
Now, in spreading it out over multiple antennas, if you're talking to a device that has multiple antennas, like your big laptop on your desk there, and you have 4 antennas on your router, 4 antennas on your laptop, you get some great burst speed.
Yeah.
But there's some significant trade-offs with MIMO. Each time you add an antenna, you need to cut the power output in half. So more antennas means your coverage area shrinks smaller and smaller.
Okay.
And it becomes more susceptible to interference. And that's why a lot of what we're seeing in Wi-Fi today is based on that, on those issues, right?
Yeah,
the more
yeah.
devices you have, the more interference there is.
And it does really, it really seems like they're throwing more radios at the problem. Like, let's just add more antennas. Let's add more inputs and outputs.
That's right. And so you see things like MIMO adding more antennas, or you see the QAM rate, which is the number of dots of information that gets passed each time. You see those things climb higher and higher. Now, looking back at 1999, when Wi-Fi was first envisioned, it was envisioned for use in your basement, right? From your laptop to a router, you're maybe downloading an email or AOL or whatever you're using in 1999. Yeah. Now, fast forward to today, and your average house has 10, 20 devices, and the cable industry is planning for 40 to 60 devices in your home. It's a completely different dynamic. So a lot of these things increase the burst speed, but they decrease the airtime utilization, or the amount of spectrum that's available for all of those other devices. So, what we've done at Edgewater is we said, well, that's great, and it works really well for those, burst applications, but really, how do you increase capacity? Well, you actually need more radios in a given coverage area.
Yeah.
Now, the problem with doing that using a traditional radio is you create interference. You notice that in your house when you stick 2 access points close together, and the performance declines. That's adjacent and co-channel interference. So what we've done is, through our patent portfolio and some really cool technology, is we've eliminated or mitigated the impacts of adjacent and co-channel interference to deliver more performance in the real world.
Wow. Jeff and I actually ran into one another at a concert recently.
Yes.
And what did they have up on the screen? It was some game that the kids play. Game that the kids play.
Yeah, it was just one of those interactive games, like something from like Jackbox Games or whatever, where everybody can connect to
through the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, through the Wi-Fi and through their cell phone to this server within the building, And there was, what, 250 people in the room?
Yeah. And you know what, Andrew?
Connecting.
I could not connect.
Oh, you couldn't?
And my poor kids, Andrew, I'll tell you what, my kids, I have my 3 kids there at the concert with me, and they all wanted to participate in this game. So the band was up, and they had it up on the screen, and everybody connect and play. And we couldn't get connected. My wife and I could not get on because everyone else was already using the bandwidth. Right. So my poor kids were like, please, Dad, you gotta buy a data plan. Like this is really what it came down to. And so we were in the situation where in this concert, we couldn't get that connectivity.
That explains why you didn't win the game.
Yeah, I absolutely.
I thought you just
couldn't even participate. So is this going to open that up to, like, is your technology, Andrew, going to be able to give us the ability to have more connectivity and more devices in a scenario such as that?
Absolutely. The biggest challenge in that scenario is the first people to connect take the airtime, right? They take up the time slots available, so nobody else can connect. And this is exactly where we play. Our real genesis of our idea was around stadiums and venues. Right?
Yeah.
We have all of these people in close proximity, and we've done some extraordinary things there in adding more channels and delivering that capacity. Now fast forward to the home, and what we're seeing in the home now, and in talking to some of the biggest cable providers in the world, up to 40% of their customer care calls are Wi-Fi related. So it's an extraordinary problem in the home as well.
Sure, yeah. So what has you personally, I mean, as the president, the CEO of the very company that's bringing us this patented technology, what has you so excited about your technology?
For me, it's the extraordinary opportunity that's in front of us. We've done something that is revolutionary, it's different. And we've transitioned from that phase of, well, these guys are just crazy, because they've got something different.
We're still in that phase, just so you're aware.
That's right. And so, that transition from the crazy, innovative idea that may or may not have a market to all of a sudden the market has shifted to density. And the realization that all the speed in the world isn't going to help you if you're stuck in traffic. So that requires an extraordinary shift in the way Wi-Fi has been delivered. And that's what gets me really excited, is this enormous opportunity for the millions of residential customers in the world.
Yeah.
Billions.
Wow, you're coming up with such a thought that, like, just the very thought that has never occurred to me, which is we're all about, give me more speed.
Right.
I want that 30 gigabit Wi-Fi. That's what I'm hoping for with Wi-Fi 7. But first come, first serve, folks. So, hey, if you're the 250th person sitting at the concert, I'm sorry. You're not. Yeah, you're out of luck. Sorry, folks. We're going to speak more with Andrew about this technology. When we return, we're going to be talking about licensing. We're going to be talking about adoption and how Andrew and his company are actually bringing this technology, bringing multi-channel, single radio Wi-Fi to the masses. Stick around.
Since its creation, Wi-Fi devices have used a single-channel technology for both sending and receiving data. Traffic going up keeps data from coming down, and the amount of devices only adds to the problem. Dual-channel Wi-Fi promises to ease our wireless congestion. At Cable Labs, we have liberated devices by enabling one or more new channels designated for downstream data-only traffic, which essentially eliminates video issues such as buffering, pixelation, and other annoying side effects from our single-channel past. This downstream data-only channel alleviates congestion with the help of a configurable traffic routing filter that diverts data packets to the additional channels based on different aspects of data traffic. Time-critical data and large downstream traffic, like video, can make use of the data-only channels, while all upstream traffic and small downstream packets, like emails and texts, remain in the primary channel. The end result is effective and efficient use of Wi-Fi, so you can keep everyone in your home happy and connected. Dual-channel Wi-Fi keeps internet traffic flowing, while reducing the Wi-Fi bottleneck.
I'm speaking with Andrew Skafel. He's the president and CEO of Edgewater Wireless. Now, Andrew, before the break, you mentioned a particular technology, which I'm curious about. You called it Wi-Fi spectrum slicing. Now, it was a quick mention, but I have no idea what you're talking about. Can you explain that to me?
So Wi-Fi spectrum slicing is simply taking the scarce spectrum and slicing it up, and allowing more independent channels to operate within the space. So it's a really revolutionary approach to the way Wi-Fi is delivered.
So so we're taking an existing connectivity, I'm just trying to get my head around this, Andrew. So understand, I want to be a little bit of a proxy for my viewers. I want to understand this, but I also want my viewers to vicariously understand this through me. So are we taking an existing single channel radio and splicing it up in such a way that it is now accessible with more inputs and outputs simultaneously? Is that what we're talking about?
That's right. So if you look at Wi-Fi, it's either in the 2.4 or the 5 gigahertz spectrum today.
Right.
We can take the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum and slice it up so you can pack more radios operating, transmitting and receiving within the given area.
Right.
In 2.4, that's 3 concurrent channels. In 5 gigahertz, we're shipping 3 channels today, but that's going all the way up to 9 concurrent channels. Wow. So it's a phenomenal shift to the capacity available.
Fantastic. We all know about full duplex and bidirectional data travel. And, if we only have unidirectional data, well, if I'm sending data, I can't receive data at the same time.
Right.
I need that constant bidirectionality of the technology. And we're talking about opening that up into a wider space. Now, just quickly, before we get into viewer questions, we've got some questions that have come in on our chat. Jeff, you're standing by. Sasha, you're standing by. And folks, if you happen to be watching live, you are one of the chosen few, and you've got an opportunity to ask those questions in our Discord as well as IRC. Yeah, it's a great opportunity for you to get those questions in. Before we get into that, Andrew, we saw a short commercial there from a company called Cable Labs. And so I'm curious, with your company being Edgewater, how you are related to Cable Labs. What is the relationship there so that we understand that?
So Cable Labs is the non-profit innovation and R&D engine for the global cable industry. Now, as part of Cable Labs, they have an accelerator program called UpRamp, and we're an alumni of the UpRamp Accelerator Program. And the program is really designed to get new and emerging technologies introduced into the $500 billion cable industry. So it's been a real extraordinary experience for us, and Cable Labs is really the guiding hand bringing new technologies to that industry.
All right. So some questions have come in the chat. Jess, you've got some for us?
Yeah, well, before I get to the chat room, I got my own question.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right, yeah.
So before the break, you mentioned that, everybody's looking for more speed. And with this kind of splitting, is there a limitation to the speed? Like I know you just mentioned, at 2.4 you get this many connections, or at the 5 gigahertz you get this. Are we going to see a reduction in speed because there's more?
Right. Is it proportional?
Yeah. Or is the speed still going to be there even though you've added more connectivity?
Well, this is the interesting thing. As we talk using Wi-Fi over video, the thing that impacts your video the most is not the speed of my connection or your connection, but it's the latency or the delay.
Right.
And so by adding channels, we're actually decreasing latency. We're offering a lower latency connection because there's fewer users on that channel. So this speed, is sort of, it's sort of that glittery object that the marketing people put out in front of you, but your viewers and you and I know that it's actually the latency that makes your video pixelate.
Right.
And so our focus is really reducing latency and offering those more channels.
Okay.
Very interesting point, and I love that we're taking a real step away from viewers. If you're noticing this, we're taking a step away from the marketing speak, like the stuff that you hear, the stuff that you read on the back of your router box when you're standing in the big box store trying to pick which router to buy. So we're stepping away from all that says this is the fastest, this is the best, this is the one with 5 antennas, this is the one with 8 antennas,
right?
And we're saying, okay, well, this is what really matters to the user.
Right.
So is my Skype call going to drop? Is my YouTube video going to buffer? And if my kids are using their phones and their tablets and I've got the computer and my laptop on my lap, am I going to have buffering?
Right.
That's really what it comes down to, because I don't care about the numbers. I really just care, how does it work for me?
The actual functionality.
So then to draw that parallel to the highway, you still have the 100-kilometer limit for the highway.
Sure.
But you've now got 36 lanes to work with instead of 2.
Could you imagine?
So there's more cars.
Yeah.
That can
How
spread
fast
out.
could you get to Toronto?
36 lanes, I could go pretty fast until the cops
Even
show
just
up.
without having to stop, right?
Exactly.
I mean, it's an interesting perspective.
Yeah,
I love it.
It is. Now, I mean, as we're talking about this, I mean, we're sitting here, I'm hearing kind of about the nuts and bolts of this for the first time. I'm getting excited, and the chat room's getting excited too. I've got 2 people, Blokey and Ameridroid, both going, can I get this now? What's it going to cost me, and how much can I get?
Yeah, like
when can I get rid of it?
where do I throw my dollars, my dollar bills? Can I just send those to you?
That's it. That's exactly it. So for us, the real catalyst to bringing this to market has been our work with the global cable providers.
Right.
We count the 5th largest cable operator in the U.S., a company called Mediacom, as one of our customers. They're using us at resorts in areas that are really struggling with density.
Right.
We're also working with 4 out of the top 5 largest cable operators in the world to bring our technology to market in the home.
Okay.
And outside of the cable space, our largest customer to date is the 2nd largest retailer in the U.S., a company called Kroger Corporation, that builds their own access points for use in their stores.
Wow.
Right.
So it's a really exciting time for the company.
That's cool.
So what I need to know is, where does this technology stand from a licensing standpoint? I mean, people say, why are you called Linux Tech Show when you're always talking about Windows? And it's like, okay, well, we have a mindset here where we care about open source. We love open source. We love Linux. I want to know, is this something that's going to be available to the open source community? Let's just put that out there. I know it's a loaded question. I'll leave that with you, Andrew.
That's it. For us, the Linux environment is extraordinary, right? The reach and the number of developers available and things is just phenomenal. So what we've done through our work with Cable Labs on the emerging dual channel Wi-Fi standard. So that's really about taking multiple channels and terminating them on a device to offer significantly lower latency.
Yeah.
So we've actually taken that dual channel Wi-Fi code, which was co-innovated with Cable Labs, and we've released that to the Linux OpenWRT community. So that's available today, that you can put on your routers and offer a dual channel capability.
Okay.
And where that goes.
Hold just 1 second.
Celebration!
And wait. One for you as well. Yes. I didn't mean to interrupt, but that had to be done.
It's really cool stuff. So, for us, what's really exciting about that standard is it's taking the current Wi-Fi implementation and saying, you know what, you've got a primary channel, which is sort of your standard Wi-Fi channel.
Yeah.
And then for a latency-sensitive application like your Roku or your Xfinity box on your TV,
Sure.
take that data and put it off on an uncontended channel. Reduce the latency. So that link becomes very, very solid.
Are we almost touching on like a Wi-Fi specific channel? Like, I'm just throwing this out here, okay? We haven't had this discussion before. Is this almost like QoS, quality of service of Wi-Fi? Like saying, okay, your Roku is streaming video, so I want to give bandwidth to that. Whereas your kids chatting on Facebook isn't really needing as much bandwidth, so we can kind of say QoS says, let's give it mostly to the Roku. Is that kind of what we're having happen, but at a channel level?
That's right, and that's really the power of the applications like dual channel Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And the platforms like Wi-Fi spectrum slicing. Like my house is a great example. My kids are playing Fortnite or whatever the game is. On
probably Fortnite.
Yeah.
Probably, exactly. I've got my own channel, nice and uncontended. And we've got our alarm system, our door, door alerts, everything on their own, low quality of service channel because they don't use a lot of bandwidth. But that's what it's really all about, and that's what Wi-Fi spectrum slicing opens up, and applications like dual channel Wi-Fi really take advantage of that.
So all I got out of that entire statement was there is a dad channel.
That's right.
So with that splitting, is that something that in the back end firmware of your router you'll be able to see those individual channels for your devices?
We're used to that, yeah.
Right now, but are we going to see it on a more intricate level? Like, is that something we'll visually be able to see in the software, or is it happening kind of in the back end without us seeing it?
Yeah, I'm seeing Blokey as well asking in our Discord there. You see that over there, asking if channels are selectable. Is this still going to be the case?
That's right. So one of the things that we've done in our line of access points, our Era products, which is also leverages Linux, is we've left it very open. So the channels are all software configurable. And, today's version, you can go in, you can select your channels. We're layering on AI applications, which will help you choose channels that are uncontended or don't have interference, right, to deliver the maximum quality of service to the demanding application. And in addition to these multiple channels, the other thing that we've included with our Wi-Fi spectrum slicing approach is real-time spectral surveillance, right? Look at the spectrum, see where the interference is, deal with that interference real-time without interrupting your transmit and receive.
Wow.
I'm getting chills. This is like answering so many problems I've got at home.
Andrew, we love you. I mean, I just have to, just plain and simple, because I'm already dealing with, like, I sit down with DDWRT and with my MikroTik, and I watch those channels, and I'm looking for, okay, well, what are my neighbors using? I want to find the channels that are not currently bombarded with data transfer, so that I'm not working on a channel that is already saturated. I want to have my home Wi-Fi on a network that on a channel that is basically wide open.
Yeah.
That's it. So you're saying that your technology is going to kind of monitor that and figure it out through some kind of brilliant technique at figuring out which channels, plural. Hold on to that for a second. So channels we're able to tap into for our Wi-Fi.
That's right. That's right.
This is
You're so
exciting.
calm.
End of show. Yeah, he's just like,
He's like,
boom, mic drop, done. That's it. Wow. Okay, I love this. I had no idea where this interview was going, folks, but now I'm like, okay, so the question now becomes, Andrew, like, I've got my routers. I've already invested in my hardware. Where does it go from here? How do I get this? Is this something that I have to buy new hardware for? Do I need to recreate my business infrastructure, my home infrastructure? Please give me some information on that.
With Wi-Fi spectrum slicing, that's actually chip-based, so you do need new hardware for that.
Yeah.
For applications like dual-channel Wi-Fi and the emerging dual-channel Wi-Fi standard, there are some devices which can support dual-channel in 2.4 and 5 gig. So they can spread, they have to separate them. Okay. But it's still, it really shows the direction that Wi-Fi is going, for sure.
So is there hardware that we should be specifically looking at to be able to implement your technique? Or is there somewhere we can go to find out more information, where we can shop for devices that are going to be supporting this particular method?
Absolutely. There's a couple places you should go and check out. Okay. Check out edgewaterwireless.com.
All right, that's you.
Under the dual-channel Wi-Fi application.
Yeah.
And Wi-Fi spectrum slicing to learn more about that.
Okay.
And a great resource is the Cable Labs website under dual-channel Wi-Fi. So there's some great information there on the benefits and the techniques for doing that.
Okay.
And you can actually go to GitHub and you can download the OpenWRT software.
Okay, what I'm going to get you to that is fantastic. Okay, OpenWRT is a router firmware you can install on your existing router. So, Andrew, what I want you to do is just after the show, I want you to private message me that link. And what I'm going to do for you viewers is, if you're watching this on demand, if you're watching this on cable TV, it's okay. Just go to our website, category5.tv. You'll find episode number 624. Yep. And I'm going to have that link there. If you're watching this on demand, if you're watching this on YouTube or wherever you are, just check below in the description. I'm going to have that link for you. So, Andrew, I'm going to share that GitHub link so that people can get a hold of that OpenWRT as well. How soon? So, OpenWRT is available now, it sounds like. How soon are we going to see this technology available basically on a grand scale?
On a grand scale, so for Edgewater Wireless, the next step in our evolution is really to license Wi-Fi spectrum slicing to some of the big silicon manufacturers, the likes of Qualcomm, Broadcom, etc.
Yep.
And that will bring the mass scale that all your viewers want to see.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Andrew, thank you so very much for your time. A reiteration that the website to go to is edgewaterwireless.com. Links are below, and find out more information about that. I love where you're going with this technology, and I need to get this in my home.
Oh, yeah.
I want this here in the studio.
Yeah, at the studio. Yes, that would be probably a good idea. Yeah. Andrew, thank you so much for being with us here this week. It's been a pleasure.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for having me.
Cheers. We've got to head over to the newsroom. Sasha, if you're ready, I'm going to throw it over to you.
All right. We're covering this week in the Category 5.tv newsroom. The co-founder and chief executive of Twitter had his own account on the service briefly taken over by hackers. Microsoft has announced that it's bringing its Exfat file system support to the Linux kernel and licensing the contributed code under GPL version 2. The rash of ransomware infiltration continues with 13 new victims, most of them schools. And a Watchdog has penalized a local authority for trialing facial recognition on high school students in Sweden to keep track of their attendance. These stories are coming right up. Don't go anywhere.
This is the Category 5.tv newsroom, covering the week's top tech stories with a slight Linux bias.
I'm Sasha Rickman, and here are the top stories we're following this week. The co-founder and chief executive of Twitter had his own account on the service briefly taken over by hackers. A group referring to itself as the Chuckling Squad said that it was behind the breach of Jack Dorsey's account. The profile, which has more than 4 million followers, tweeted out a flurry of highly offensive and racist remarks for about 15 minutes. Twitter says its own systems were not compromised. Instead, they blame an unnamed phone service provider, saying, quote, "The phone number associated with the account was compromised due to a security oversight by the mobile provider. This allowed an unauthorized person to compose and send tweets via text message from the phone number. That issue is now resolved." solved, end quote. A source at the company confirmed that the hacker had used a technique known as SIM swapping or SIM jacking in order to control Mr. Dorsey's account. This isn't the first SIM swapping account we've reported on. You may remember several months ago when we talked about how an AT&T allowed an attacker to steal Bitcoin. SIM swapping itself is most often a social engineering attack on its onset. It allows an existing phone number, in this case one associated with Mr. Dorsey's account, to be transferred to a new SIM card. It's usually after the attackers trick or bribe customer support staff at a mobile provider to make the switch. In this case, by taking control of the number, the attackers were able to post tweets via text message directly onto Mr. Dorsey's Twitter account. While the security lapse appears to have happened outside the company, it is still an embarrassing incident for Twitter.
I mean, I get that it's kind of an embarrassing thing for Twitter, but at the same time, it's not their fault.
So they say.
Well, no, but I mean, SIM hacking is...
I'm like, okay, well, that was some good brandy. And
No, but I mean, like, it does happen. I mean, at the end of the day, that is a vulnerability within the cell phone system. I mean, and it does happen all the time.
We may not realize that.
Should we just assume that everybody who tweets obnoxiously unrealistic and ridiculous tweets probably have been SIM swapped? And they're not actually speaking on their own?
No.
Not that we're pointing any fingers. Not that we're pointing any fingers.
No, but I mean, like, as a company like Twitter, how do you protect against something like the only way you...
you'd have to turn off SMS messaging.
Well, but not only that is maybe something built into the account where it's like, oh, we're detecting suddenly a change in your IP address. Like, I don't know if
it's not really possible, though, is it, Jeff? With
but if you're
SIM
switching
swapping
to a different phone, you'd have a different IP.
Yeah, but you'd have a different IP if you traveled from this end of Barrie to the other end of Barrie.
But if
you're on a different
using a
tower.
cell phone that's not connected to Wi-Fi, you still have your IP.
But this is SMS.
Yeah, okay,
so
fair enough. But
let's rule out IP addressing. So not really the issue because it's not internet-based, so it's not
that was a very gentle
internet
put down. Well
protocol, right?
So you just have to just never let your phone out of your sight.
It doesn't matter. It wasn't out of his sight. So here's the thing, is somebody knew Mr. Dorsey's phone number.
Right.
So was this an inside job? If I wanted to hack his account, I don't know his personal cell phone number. Do you?
It's probably
Who does?
not that hard.
But this is the co-founder of Twitter, right? So think about that for a second.
How many people would have his contact? How many times have we had data breaches of contact information, all the contact lists out there?
Is that it? Is it a data breach? Is it like his LinkedIn account was compromised?
Who knows? But it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I'm sure my cell phone number's out there, and it's like, nobody needs my cell phone number.
If anyone would like to tweet as Jeff Weston, just check the data banks on the black web.
Go to the dark web.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate that it happened, but at the same time, I'm going, at least it wasn't a security breach. It wasn't something that rocks the foundation of Twitter where people are like, oh my gosh.
But doesn't it, doesn't it bring us back to, okay, SIM swapping is a very serious issue.
Yeah.
And we talked about, you remember the conversation, you mentioned it. Yes. Yeah, AT&T, where somebody walked in, so a hacker, or we used to call them frackers. So do you remember back in the day when we were frackers, where we would send a piece of mail, a piece of postage to somebody, but we would put their address in the from address and then not include postage. So then, of course, the post office would then send it back to who it was from because there was insufficient postage. But the from was actually the person we're sending it to. And that is what we called fracking. And you know, that happened with pay phones, where we had devices that you could make a certain tone and make your phone calls for free at a payphone. Like, that was fracking. So now, is this the modern equivalent of fracking, where we can walk into AT&T and say, my name's Sasha Rickman, and my phone number is such and such.
Right.
And I lost my phone, so I need you to give me a new SIM. Right? So then this new SIM card now goes in my phone, and now I can dial, I can authenticate, I can two-factor authenticate against Sasha's accounts.
Yep.
Because I am her phone number, so I can receive SMS.
Right.
That's some scary stuff. Think about that as you think about what kind of two-factor authentication you have on your accounts. And then think somebody could do that. And it's only if the cell provider falls for that social engineering attack. But the fact is, we talked about AT&T, how they're not adequately training their workers to be prepared for social engineering.
So is there a benefit to having profile photos for customer service reps? For stuff like that. It's like, hey, you've got a cell phone. By the way, we want to put a picture on file so nobody else can come in and say, I'm so and so.
Sure.
Like,
No, but you know,
But, like, how do you get away from that?
Like bank security. Maybe you should have to have your own personal PIN.
No, because I used to walk into the bank and withdraw money as my brother. I'm sorry, Brad.
I know. I worked at a bank, and oh my goodness,
It's all I needed to. Are you guys twins?
No.
No,
That's
you just
the
know
thing.
the personal
As
information.
long as you know enough to
I
be able to
worked-
answer those security questions, you can do it.
Right, but okay.
That's
so
the thing.
Since that point, now you bring in your card, you put it into the reader, and you pop in the PIN.
Yeah.
That's a little bit better.
But it can all be compromised. So do we
Right,
need,
so-
do we almost need, and this is a rhetorical, but do we need two-factor authentication on our two-factor authentication? Do we need to have thumbprints in order to authenticate against our two-factor authentication?
Right.
Do we need to have that added feature of, okay, well, your phone, okay, you lost your SIM? No problem. Your phone was set up with fingerprint identification. Can we have your fingerprint, please? Ooh. Right? Like, can that be?
But you can.
Are
It's
people
very
gonna-
rhetorical
are people
because
gonna
the tech
freely give
fingerprints.
their fingerprints.
But I would if I lost my SIM.
Right.
And if a hacker came in and said, I'm Robbie Ferguson and I need a new SIM for my phone,
Yeah.
well, if they don't have my fingerprint, wouldn't I like that peace of mind to know that they cannot regenerate a new SIM card?
I just wonder if what we're dealing with at that point is people's heightened level of suspicion, where they're like, "Oh, I'm not giving my fingerprints to AT&T. Who knows what they're going to do with it?"
But
Right?
also,
but I understand
Sure.
that would work as a security measure.
but there's also that flip side of that, Sasha, and I know you want to move on. That's my way of saying I want to move on. There's that flip side of it that says, well, if I am providing my identification, well, they can't authenticate as me.
Right.
I don't want them to be able to authenticate as me, and if they do, I don't want them to be able to compromise my accounts.
Is the information you're providing to AT&T being stored properly and in a secure
it.
way?
You just
the
don't
thing.
know.
Yeah, exactly.
So many questions,
You know,
not
it's,
enough answers.
I mean, even in this scenario, it still
I don't
comes
even
down
know
to
the
human
answers.
error.
We are not
Somebody
going
can
to
Okay, that's what
We're-
I kind of felt like I wanted to
Yes.
touch on. Thank you, Jeff.
We're not going to solve this in just
Is that it?
We can't fix. If we fix human error right here on the show,
We
I
could
want
do
a
that.
paycheck.
So as long as the cell phone provider, I think this is where Jeff would go with this, right? As long as the cell phone provider gives their staff the capability, the authority to be able to SIM swap,
Yep.
we have a security breach
Yes.
possibility.
Always.
Okay. So when we think about that, so as long as
And I'm
that
not saying
is
switch to robot customer service reps.
no, but if those staff members that are working in a mall kiosk have the
Right.
capability to SIM swap Sasha's phone to me,
for minimum wage.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a problem with
There
that.
needs- yeah.
Maybe
Sure.
it's not an education thing, but maybe it's what level of security should certain levels of staff have? Maybe
Right.
is that the issue?
And what level of accountability? Because, I mean...
Well, there is none. When you're a minimum
Yeah,
wage, I mean,
exactly.
oh, sorry,
You're like, oh,
you
well.
know, fire me, I'll move on to the next kiosk, right?
Exactly. Okay. So,
Okay.
speaking of moving on.
Sorry, Sasha. Sorry about that.
Microsoft has announced that it's bringing its Exfat file system support to the Linux kernel and licensing the contributed code under GPL version 2. Microsoft's Exfat file system is prevalent throughout a lot of modern technology, regardless of whether you or your device use the Windows operating system. This simple but proprietary and patented file system was created by Microsoft for use primarily in flash memory products back in 2006. Since then, the format has seen colossal adoption throughout the electronics industry, with USB drivers, SD cards, digital cameras, and MP3 players among the many, many devices that make use of it. However, to use the file system means paying Microsoft a fee. until now. It's long been possible to read, write, manage, edit, resize, and format Exfat partitions and file systems on Linux distros thanks to source efforts like the Fuse-based Exfat. But patent issues have prevented these workaround solutions from shipping as part of the regular Linux kernel, out of the box, ready to go. But now Microsoft is lifting the restrictions and releasing the code that will allow Exfat to be included in the kernel with no fees and nobody getting sued.
Okay, I love this. You know why?
Why?
My video recorder for screencasting doesn't support Exfat for this very reason, because of the patents.
Right.
So now we're going to see a transition in the technology that says, okay, well, now that it's freely available on the Linux kernel, and most of these devices, let's be honest, are powered by Linux. We may not realize, even if you're a Windows user, you may not realize that your phone and many of your devices in your household are Linux-based. So this now says, okay, well, that recorder that records to my disk USB flash drive when I do screencasts can support Exfat?
Yep.
For free?
Yep.
Yes. That opens up a whole new world.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Windows.
Microsoft is finally supporting the open source. I wondered how this was going to go, because Microsoft professed several years ago, we had this discussion about how they were going to be becoming more and more open source centric.
Yes,
It's
they
very
did say
They're
weird.
the ones that bought GitHub, right?
They did.
So,
Yes.
I mean, it would be difficult for them to say, we've got GitHub, but we're not in favor of open source.
Turn it all off. Password protect the whole thing.
Exactly. Wah, wah.
Yeah, which is an interesting purchase in and of itself. But now they have access to the world's source code
Yes.
in such a way that, you know, they can adopt that into their own code base.
That was it. Yeah, it was a smart move for them.
Sure.
And so
sure
was
is.
this. So
Yes.
That's right.
The rash of ransomware infiltration continues with 13 new victims, most of them schools. Yes, that's right. As investigations into the recent coordinated ransomware attack against local governments in Texas continues, 13 new victims of ransomware attacks have been publicly identified. Besides schools, the victims also include in Indiana County, a hospice in California, a newspaper in Waterton, New York. The ransomware involved in the Texas attacks, which hit 22 local-level government entities, has not yet been identified. Multiple sources have suggested that the Texas attacker gained access through a managed service provider that the local governments had all in common, but that has not yet been confirmed by state officials. In the case of this latest batch of attacks, Ryuk ransomware has been identified as the malware used on at least 3 occasions. The Rockville Center School District initially received a ransom demand of $176,000. The district's insurance company negotiated with the ransomware operator, reducing the payout to $88,000, and the school district paid a deductible of $10,000. There's no word on whether other victims have paid the ransom yet. As new attacks become public, it's worth remembering the fallout from such attacks can add up quickly in terms of dollars and requires a lengthy recovery period. The leadership of Baltimore City, hit by a ransom attack in May, recently announced that $6 million of the money needed to cover the city's more than $10 million ransomware cleanup operation would be pulled from funds earmarked for upkeep of city parks and public facilities. So far, the Robinhood ransomware cost the city over $8 million in lost revenue and interest on deferred revenue. Baltimore has also been considering a contract for $20 million of cyber liability insurance plan.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
Why? Okay.
Are you angry, Jeff? Are you angry, Baltimore residents?
What bothers me...
Take your kids to the park, and as the swing hangs from one chain, ask yourself, was this worth it?
Like, I mean, the whole story just kind of grinds my gears. But that last little statement that they're thinking of buying $20 million in cybersecurity insurance. How about
IT
a backup? Staff and proper backups and everything could 20 million get them? Like, this is where I want to throw my pen and walk off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what?
See you, Jeff. Have a great night. Baltimore, look at what you've done. we've lost a great co-host.
I can't say enough. Okay, all y'all just need to watch the show. Why are you doing these things in such a way that will affect, like, not only you and the services, but then the people beyond? A hospice, like hospice now. Obviously these aren't targeted attacks, but it blows my mind.
We'll call them targeted. They will.
Right.
Then when they get the FBI involved in the insurance companies, they'll call it targeted.
But I think to myself, like, schools...
It's stupidity is what it is.
Yeah. Oh. Anyway.
What really jabs my butt about this, Jeff, is it seems apparent. I mean, if I'm going to pay $88,000 to a ransomware individual or group, so this is a group that just simply installed a program that encrypted their files. If I'm going to pay $88,000, how much do you want to bet I didn't spend $5,000 on my backup that year?
Yep.
Right.
Okay? So think about that. These are the very folks that are running our government. And we have a really serious misallocation of tax dollars.
But again, going back to news stories just a few minutes ago, that's human error. Like, I feel like when it comes to proper IT support and cybersecurity and malware protection and everything in between, there's that element of you just didn't do it. Come on.
And it's tough. I'm not going to come down hard on the IT folks because I'm in IT and I know.
Right, but they've got a budget line.
No, but they also can only make recommendations, Jeff.
Yep. Oh, yeah. No,
and it takes going through bureaucracy through multiple levels in order to get approval for something that we're stressing needs to happen now.
Like 10 years ago now.
Yeah. Wake up, people.
So when they pay the ransom, they're still at risk for future attacks.
Oh, sure they are.
Completely.
Did we inoculate the issue?
No.
Did we patch the systems with that fee? No. The IT crew still has to take care of the cleanup. Still has to, what are we going to do? Pay $88,000 and trust the hackers not to hack again?
Right.
No, the back doors are still there.
Exactly.
At that point. All they've done is given you a key for $88,000. Here's your decryption key. 256 bits of text.
More. Right.
Yeah. Oh, of course it does. Yeah, these aren't our average. And the sad thing is, I'll say it's not your normal good guy, but sad thing is, a lot of cases, these are teenage kids that just simply don't know any better, and they just made $88,000 off the government, and they're thinking, "Oh my gosh, payload."
Yeah, doing
I figured out a way to make tons of cash, and then they'll go to jail eventually when they're 26 years old and find themselves at the mercy of the government and not understand. Well,
they don't understand the lives they affected.
Yeah. And it's not fair to them. It's not fair. Like, kids growing up. And when I was a kid, I was a hacker and I was doing malicious things, but not anything damaging. I didn't ever do anything that couldn't be undone. And I didn't charge anyone a fee to undo it. But I still had to have a stern talking to. Oh, sure. I had to have a stern talking to at school. And as kids are growing up now, I mean, they're way more advanced than I was in my age because technology is there from the moment they're born.
Right.
So this is a dangerous thing that they're setting by, hey, let's pay $88,000. No. Pay your IT department to give you proper backups, proper encryption. Turn off RDP, you idiots. Lock down your firewalls.
Right.
Yeah. Comment below. Just comment.
And guess
below.
what? We have more news.
Oh, do we?
We do.
Please tell me it's good news, Sasha. Yeah.
Watchdog has penalized a local authority for trialing facial recognition on high school students in Sweden to keep track of attendance. The Swedish Data Protection Authority, or DPA, fined the Skellefteå municipality the equivalent of about $20,000 US for ignoring a privacy law. The trial involved tracking 22 students over 3 weeks and detecting when each pupil entered a classroom. This is the first time that Sweden has ever issued a fine under the GDPR. The General Data Protection Regulation, which came into force last year, classes facial images and other biometric information as being a special category of data with added restrictions on its use. The DPA indicated that the fine would have been bigger had the trial been longer. According to Technology Magazine Computer Sweden, Swedish authorities decided to investigate after reading media reports of Anderstop's High School's trial. The local authority told the Swedish state broadcaster SVT Nyheter in February that teachers had been spending 17,000 hours a year reporting attendance, and the authority had decided to see whether facial recognition technology could speed up the process. The trial, which took place in autumn of 2018, had been so successful that the local authority was considering extending it. Although the school secured parents' consent to monitor the students, the regulator did not feel that it was legally adequate reason to collect such sensitive personal data. It said that there was a less intrusive ways that their attendance could have been detected without involving camera surveillance. As a result, the DPA found that Skellefteå's local authority had unlawfully possessed sensitive biometric data and failed to complete an adequate impact assessment, which would have included consulting the regulator and gaining prior approval before starting the trial.
Okay, so they're not saying they can't do it. They're saying that they didn't get the proper
okay.
Well, that was
A-OK.
part of it. Like that's some of the stuff they could have done. But like, why not just go to the good old try and true system of swipe cards or RFID? Like,
it can always be
but I mean,
forged,
like,
right?
no, fair enough. But I mean, I've got one of these, and if it was a
Yeah,
matter
but I'll
of-
take yours and pretend that you were at school today.
Sure, fair
I'll
enough.
scan
So
everybody's.
there's going to be some manipulation, but at least they're not causing problems. I mean, if my school said, or my kid's school sent home a letter that says we're going to be using facial recognition to track your kid's attendance,
Yeah.
I'd probably blow a gasket.
You don't say. So
Yeah.
would
Okay.
actually I wouldn't.
How much does a teacher make these days?
Not very much.
70-ish? I don't know.
Well, let's say by the hour. Let's look at the hourly. Is it
I don't know.
teachers?
26
$26 an hour?
more.
No, it's got to be more than that.
32?
Well, they have
$37 an hour. I will give you the job for $37 an hour.
They have 8 weeks unpaid in the year that I'm.
Oh my gosh,
counting
we're
in.
getting too technical.
Okay.
How much do you think they make an hour?
They don't make a lot of money. I don't
Teachers, comment below. How much should you make and how much do you make an hour? Let's
should
just say, can we say $28 an hour?
think. Yes.
Just
I
as
think
a
that's low,
as a
but-
base rate for somebody starting out. And if you get paid less than that, you need to talk to your employer.
Right.
17,000 hours at $28 per hour is $476,000 US.
Yeah.
At $28 an hour. So you're telling me,
The pay
oh,
rate-
they probably get paid more than that.
Right.
So with the amount of time that these teachers are spending simply saying, hey, Jeff, are you here? Hey, Jeff. Hey, Jeff, are you here?
Bueller.
Come on, answer me, dude.
Why?
See, facial recognition would have been a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Would have
Your
saved me
face is
time
here.
and would have saved my school board and my tax-paying citizens $500,000 US dollars this year. So think about that in comparison with the privacy issue of parents who say, like you say, I have a problem with a computer knowing that my kid is at school.
Yep.
But the computer knows anyways whether my teacher tells the computer or not.
I still think there's other ways rather than having to go with facial recognition.
But hear me, Jeff. The
I hear
computer,
you. I just don't
the
agree with you.
computer knows anyways.
Yeah,
As soon as the teacher says, yeah, Jeff finally answered the question, I just made another $500,000, right? Mm-hmm. And so I checked the box and I sent it to the computer, and now the computer knows that you're there anyways.
Right. So the automated calling system can call home if you aren't
Exactly. That's exactly how it works. At the end of the day, sorry, Jeff was truant.
Oh,
Right.
Okay, so now you've
So-
got
You heard
false
that way
attendance
too many
records.
times.
Actually, you never.
Sorry, I didn't mean to bring that
You
back to
never
you,
heard that.
parents.
That was a good kid.
If your
No.
parents are watching, that just really brought them back to.
But I mean, like, how many times, like, so you're twins. Twins go to the same school. Like,
Okay,
there's
fair
issues
enough.
with it.
There will be issues. Sure, there are.
issues
Like,
with
there's
it.
identity challenges.
But
But that happened. Admit it. That's happening anyways with the teachers.
Sure.
Have you never?
Oh, my
Again,
twin sisters
another
did it.
story.
Yes,
They had
exactly.
identification bracelets that they swapped
Sure.
one day just to be each other.
Absolutely, they
Yeah.
did. They changed
Identification bracelets?
outfits.
They're identical twins. So
Guaranteed.
One had one that said Beth and one had one that said Colleen.
You know what's funny?
Yeah.
I've yet to meet a set of identical twins that don't in some way look different.
Well,
Yeah, but you
they
have
look
to know
different
them
now,
to
but
know.
when they're like 4 years old,
Sure.
right? They look pretty similar.
Yeah,
I still think this was a bad idea.
I
know that the world is going that way. So, like,
well, that's
I'm
it
not a
too,
nation.
Jeff.
Like, I get that it's going that way. I mean, how long have we had facial recognition in casinos? Like, I get it.
Yeah.
But the difference is we're talking adults versus children.
but the adults
Okay,
were
that's
asked.
fair.
Like,
There was
Yeah.
consent given. There was
I
parental
don't
consent.
care though. It's the fact that a parent can make an improper decision with the information that has been supplied about their child. Like, I struggle with it.
I understand that, but I still feel that we as a society have to move on from our old ways. In that, I still believe that whether it's a human that says Sasha's in class today,
Right.
or a computer that says Sasha's in class today, the same algorithms, the same systems are in place to notify mom and dad whether you were truant or not. It's still the same system. It's just a different detection mechanism that can save our tax-paying citizens $500,000 a year.
Are fingerprints as precious as facial recognition?
Probably.
I would
Because
say
I
they're
was
the
gonna
same.
say, like,
Scan
could you
their-
not
your
just
fingerprint?
scan a finger
Sure.
and put in a code?
Maybe that's the answer.
They're
Right.
probably
Is that
still
fair,
in the same
parents? What do
category
you
as
think?
far as the biometric.
Yeah, it
collection
probably
of data.
is.
I've worked at places where you put your whole hand on the reader
Yeah.
and then you clock in your own code.
That'd be awesome.
Hand
You're
and
an
a key
adult.
code.
My kids, if my kids get that in their school, I'm sending them to school in suits with sunglasses. I'm dead serious.
But then they
Yeah.
wouldn't have fingerprints.
Oh, yes. Right, Men in Black. Nice. Nicely
Okay.
played, sir. Okay, let's take a quick look at the cryptocurrency market. Now, there is one coin that has been holding so steady over the past several weeks, and it's just mind-boggling how it can be holding so steady. No, it's not. Facebook Libra is still trading at $0 because it's not even trading yet.
Yeah, but it's
we're
gonna
still
be-
waiting for it.
It's going to be a positive week. Week
Jeff,
one.
Sasha made that comment last week.
I'm so
Facebook
excited.
Libra, when it hits,
Going
it's
up.
going up. You know it's going up because right now it's
I
a
know.
0.00 fiat.
That's the one I don't want to get.
Bitcoin. And I saw a kiosk, an ATM that allows me to
saw it.
buy.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, good.
I walked,
Yes.
but not in the mall. I walked into a convenience store
It was-
and I said, Bitcoin ATM? And the guy looked at me and he said, yep. I bought this store because I bought a single Bitcoin when they were down. And I sold it when they were up. And now I own this convenience store.
How much did it cost you? One.
Yeah, nothing. Like virtually nothing. So this gentleman bought this convenience store that I'm standing in. And so by his own like realization that, hey, this is where the future is, he has an ATM in the convenience store that only sells.
There's a bunch of them in Toronto.
Yeah,
Bitcoin.
that's so cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
So neat. So we're going to take a look at that. I'm going to go in with my inconspicuous filming glasses
Can you
or
check your
something
balance?
and take a look at that. I don't really know how it works yet, Jeff.
Okay.
But we're going to take a look. Bitcoin is up. Well, kind of back up where it was a couple of weeks ago, but at $10,615.93, gaining $939.65 US over the past week. Litecoin is holding pretty steady at $67.59 fiat USD. Ethereum is at $175.70, and things are really holding about where they were last week. Monero at $72.47. I mean, the difference is only 34 cents. It's not really anything significant unless you own a lot of them. Scala, which is Torque, which is Stellite, is at 0.66 ten-thousandths of a cent. So it's on its way back up to where it was. It was doing quite well as,
Why the name
Torque.
change?
I think, patents and trademarks and
They forgot to check whether or not somebody else had it.
Whoops.
That's going to hurt the coin, I think.
It really did. It
did last
dropped.
week.
It dropped last week,
I know,
Jeff, down to 0.45 ten-thousandths of a cent, but it went back up again to 0.66 this week. So it's working its way back up, and it's already exceeded and, in fact, doubled that of the Turtle coin. Turtle coin is pretty steady. I mean, it did lose. It's the only loser this week at 0.39 ten-thousandths of a cent. But again, I mean, Scala and Turtle coin are both micro coins. So if you want to get involved in cryptocurrency mining, it's a great way to get involved because it doesn't really cost you anything.
I do it on a Pi.
To get, you do it on a Raspberry Pi at like 9 hashes a second. But I mean, you still are building up your Turtle coin, right? So it happens, and so that's the way to do it. But do remember, if you are going to crypto mine, or if you're going to purchase, I mean, we talk about this ATM at the convenience store. If you're going to buy Bitcoin or you're going to invest in cryptocurrency, remember that the market never closes and it's always volatile. So it's always changing. You could go to bed at night thinking, oh, I'm doing really good, Bitcoin's up, and the next day it is down.
That's right.
Because it never, ever closes. It's not like your stock exchange, folks. So be mindful that, our recommendation here at Category 5 Technology TV is to only invest, only spend what you can afford to lose.
Yes.
That's the only way to play.
Yep. Yeah, invest the money you don't want any longer.
Yeah. Basically, you're just throwing it in the
Or just
wind,
give it to
folks.
us. We'll take it.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can give it to us. That's fine too. We should add that. Should we add that to the cryptocurrency report?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
or
make
give
a
it to
note.
us.
Yeah.
Or-
Okay.
yes.
Remember, children, the cryptocurrency market never closes. It's always volatile, and you can donate to us instead.
That's right.
Big thanks to Roy W. Nash and our community of viewers for submitting stories to us this week. Thanks for watching the Category 5.tv newsroom. Don't forget to like and subscribe for all your tech news with a slight Linux bias. And for more free content, be sure to check out our website. From the Category 5.tv newsroom, I'm Sasha Rickman.
And I'm Robbie Ferguson.
And I'm Jeff Weston.
Hey, thanks for being here with us tonight. Now, we're trying to put a real focus on the Linux terminal. And tonight, we're going to be showing you how to travel through time in Debian Linux. Stick around.
Welcome back to Category 5 Technology TV. It's time to do some time traveling.
Oh, I
with
love.
Linux.
You know what? Could you imagine? Time travel is here. We finally have access.
I would tell
to the
myself to start
technology.
working out 25 years ago.
Go back in time, and that's what
That's
you
the
would tell.
Yeah, work out.
Yeah.
That's the
Okay.
thing.
That's the thing.
That's good. That's
I
good.
feel like
No other
that
regrets in
Bitcoin
life.
That's
stuff,
fantastic,
buy
Jeff. It's
some
good to
of
hear.
it. That's what I
Bitcoin
would
wasn't
tell
around
myself.
25
If that's
years
your
ago.
only regret, then you're basically like the happiest guy alive, which is fantastic.
I am.
That's really good.
I
Okay, so what we're looking at this week is time travel through Debian Linux. So have you ever had a scenario where you're like, I just wish Debian Wheezy was still available, or PHP 5.3 was still available, or any of these old packages? Because what happens is we love Debian's apt. You know apt-get.
Yes.
And the ability to install new packages and do an apt update and then an apt upgrade, and all of a sudden your system is up and running with the latest and greatest, right? But what happened to the old stuff?
Right.
It's gone.
It's gone.
What happens if you need it? What if you have some kind of technology or product or program that requires that old software, and then you're in this bind where now it's not available, it's gone? Especially if you're in a scenario where, let's say you had a piece of software developed. Custom software is a great example.
Yes.
We'll pay a development company to build software for us. It might cost us $20,000. And then the technology moves on. It was built on Debian Jessie, let's say, as the scenario. And then we went through upgrade after upgrade, and now here we are. Debian Buster is stable, ladies and gentlemen. We're on Debian 10. And now our software that we paid $20,000 for is no longer compatible, and we can't install it. We can't run it. It no longer works. So we have this real bind where, hey, I can't run this software. I really need to run this software.
Why wouldn't you just go find an old, software package?
wouldn't that be just great? But there's dependencies, Jeff. Right? Like when you install anything on Debian, there's going to be things that it depends on in order to install and in order to be able to function correctly.
Yep.
Right? So a good example...
Not like just pulling out your old CD.
No, it's not. It's not at all like that. And fact is, maybe there's a scenario where we have an old server. Maybe I've got an old server and I want to move things into virtualization hypervisor because I know that that old server is on its way out or it's using too much hydro or electricity for those American viewers. We call electricity hydro here in Canada.
Right.
I don't know why. It's
water.
Water?
Because it started with water
power.
generators, hydroelectric.
And so we stuck with it.
We've just never,
The more you know. See, we learned something here tonight, so we can end the show on that note.
I totally just made it up, but it makes sense.
It makes sense to me, Jeff.
I'm great at Balderdash.
Oh, yeah. Excellent. We'll be playing that after the show. So what happens in that scenario? So
yeah,
I want to tell you a little bit about a feature of Debian that you may not have heard of. It's called snapshots. Well, we've heard of snapshots. Yeah, we've heard of snapshots. Did you know that Debian's repositories have snapshots? And they have since 2005. So if you want to go back in time or you want to lock your repositories on your distribution to a certain point in time, you can use snapshots.
I had no clue.
Nice. How?
Well, I'll show you that, Sasha.
Okay.
You see how she's like driving the conversation? All right, let's jump. Let's jump. Yeah. She's like, it's winding down. This is the end of the show. Let's make it happen, Robbie. Okay, so I'm going to jump in. I'm going to type sudo su, and it's prompting me for my password.
What is it?
What's so funny, Sasha?
Oh, you weren't here last week.
I know, but I heard about it. I heard about the great password reveal of 2019.
Oh, look, I entered my password. All right, so I'm going to go into cd/etc/apt, and let's nano sources.list. Okay, my sources.list is pretty much empty. There's a commented out CD-ROM drive, so that means that there is a folder called sources.list.d. And in that folder, and everyone has this on Debian. Now, I should give you this one little caveat. I'm actually on Linux Mint. So this is an Ubuntu derivative, but Ubuntu is based on Debian, so I'm still able to demonstrate this, but this demonstration should really only be run on Debian Linux, like a true Debian system. So now I'm going to create a new package list, so I'm going to go nano, and I'm going to call this, let's call it snapshot. Snapshot.list. Has to end with .list. And with that ready to go, I'm going to jump into my web browser and I'm going to head on over to a wonderful website. You ready for this? Mm-hmm. Nice and easy. Snapshot.debian.org, and jump onto there. So here we are at the Debian Snapshot repository. We all know about repositories, but this is the snapshot where every 6 hours, Debian, since 2005, has been taking snapshots of the existing repositories. So hey,
that's a ton of snapshots.
Exactly. So you need to, and deduplication is their friend, I'll tell you what. But if you need to, let's say you've got software that you want to virtualize, you want to put it on a virtual appliance, well, hey, set snapshot as the repository, and it will never progress beyond that point. It will never, you never have to fear it upgrading beyond that point. It's always going to be locked down to that very point in time. So let's jump over here. So I'm going to go to /archive/Debian, and you'll see all the dates, 2005 all the way up to 2019 and September. So let's say I want to go back, let's say, because I'm on Buster, right? Let's pretend. I want to jump back to, I apologize. There we are with the right screen. I'm going to go back to January. So 2019. Can you folks see that? I'll zoom in just a little bit on my browser.
Oh, that's better.
With Control+. 2019-01. So if I wanted to lock into January of this year, now it gives me all the snapshots for that. like by date. Look at this, folks. So I can actually go back to January 1st at 2:59 a.m. I can go back to January 1st at 8:56 a.m. I can go back to any of these times at snapshot.debian.org. So let's say, let's just pretend vicariously we're going to choose 2019-01-06 at 2100 hours. Okay?
Sounds great.
That's what I'm going to choose. So I've just clicked on it. Now it's just a bunch of gibberish, whatever. Copy the address line. Okay? That's going to give me the repository, and that is date stamped to the one that I chose, which is January 6th, 2019. You can go back. Remember, you can go back to 2005, March. Okay? You can go all the way back to 2005. Now, in that file that I created, sources.list.d in /etc/apt, see the... Can you guys see the address bar? I'm just going to bring it down just a little bit so that you can see that.
Beautiful.
Let's see. Boom. There it is. So that's the location, /etc/apt/sources.list.d. I've created a new file called snapshot.list. And I'm going to go deb, because I want to specify that this is a Debian repository, and I'm going to paste what I just copied to my clipboard, which is the snapshot of January 6th. And then Buster. Main. That could be stretch. That could be whatever is available on that date. You couldn't go back to Jesse with this date because Jesse didn't exist. It was already EOL at that point. But you could go back further in the date stamps in order to be able to get Jesse repositories. Hold on to that thought for a second as you think about how do I take an old Jesse server and upgrade it to Buster? We use a snapshot repository so that we can do a dist upgrade of Jesse to the very latest Jesse repository before it was canceled, right? Before it went EOL.
Right.
Then we can go to whatever we need, like Wheezy Stretch, Wheezy Stretch, Buster, right all the way up, right? So we can do that by using this snapshot in order to get there. So with that set, so I've pasted that in, and I'm going Buster main, or I can go Stretch main, whatever it is that I'm going to be. So understand repositories. I'm not getting too far into that, but this is the distro that I'm using. So in my case, it is in fact Stretch. I could use Buster if I wanted to. And then write out the file with Control-O, because I've got Nano open, and then Control-X to exit. And now apt update. And you're going to see that it's actually going to hit that new repository. I go through all these extra repositories I have for Sinalera, and it will actually get the repository for the snapshot. But do you notice for that snapshot, Sasha? What do you see?
Snapshot.
Yeah. This is blah 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 blah. It's not signed. Oh, what does that mean? Well, I don't actually have the GPG key. So everything is secure, but I need a GPG key in order to be able to synchronize that. Right. So I need to observe that. In this particular case, I need to notice that, hey, there's no key available for this pub key, 8B48AD. See that? That big long thing. So what I want to do, I'm going to copy that to my clipboard. I'm going to type this command. So as root, so notice I am already root, or you can use sudo. We can type apt-key adv-key server space key. I'm going to use Ubuntu. So keyserver.ubuntu.com. It can be any key server that you like. --recv-keys, receive keys, and then paste. So with that, I'm going to paste that key number. Okay. And hit enter. And now, if all goes well, it's going to grab that key from the Ubuntu key server, keyserver.ubuntu.com, which is just an apt way of authenticating the apt repository, and should go through just fine. Here we go. Wait for it, folks. There we go. Processed and imported. I'm going to just move my screen up again because I know it's getting cut off just a little bit there for you. There we are. So processed, imported, and good to go. So now if I type apt update, now I'm not going to get that error message anymore. It's going to grab the repository from the snapshot, and we're going to be locked into that particular date, which is January 6th, 2019. Here we go. One of these days I'm going to delete that Sinalera. It always takes a while. There you go. See that? It's going through the new repository for the archive of 2019-01-06. And there we go. So one final thought. So now it's saying that there's some extra files available. So one final thought is, remember, I've now added a new repository for that date stamp. However, I still have the old repositories active. So I do need to observe, and this is just simple apt knowledge, I need to observe the fact that I have other repositories already active here. And I need to probably remove some of these which may conflict. Okay?
Right.
If you're going to lock it down completely, you may want to remove all of your repositories and simply stick with that snapshot.
Now, this is obviously for Debian, but do the other repositories have them?
Well, remember, I'm on Linux Mint,
okay,
which is a Debian derivative because it's a derivative of Ubuntu. Ubuntu is a derivative of... Am I talking sense?
I know it, but I'm forgetting.
If there's a hierarchy,
yes,
there's Debian.
Yes.
Okay. And below Debian is Ubuntu.
Yep.
All right. Ubuntu is using Debian
yes,
as its base. That's what it's based on. So Ubuntu is essentially Debian with a bunch of stuff added and cleaned up and moved around. Okay. So then anything that's based on Ubuntu is like Linux Mint and various other Linux distributions that are based on Ubuntu.
Right.
Well, they're still based on Debian. Right. So inevitably, you could, now be careful, keep a backup because you might break things, but in this scenario, they're fairly compatible because it's all Debian based, it's all apt-get, it's all repository based. You can break things because Ubuntu Canonical may add things that really improve the experience for users or make it compatible with your architecture, for example.
Right.
So you can break things. But in the case of Debian pure, like Debian itself from Debian.org, this process will allow you to lock it down at a certain date. So I can set my repository to that snapshot date, and now I can do an apt upgrade, and it will upgrade to what? To now? No, it'll upgrade to January 6th.
Correct.
And it will lock it there. So it will never go beyond that as long as I don't have any other repositories that have newer versions.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
So that is snapshot.debian.org. Very simple to use and set up, especially once you've got a slight grasp on the apt architecture, the way that apt-get works. And that is a fantastic feature that's going to help you out as you, especially, I love the idea of migrating old servers to newer platforms. Being able to move from Jesse to Buster seamlessly, because remember, Jesse's gone. Jesse is EOL, so you can't do a dist upgrade anymore. But you can.
Except you can.
You can, by using a snapshot.
So is Jesse really EOL?
Is it? Is it? It's like it's 2009, folks.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, this has been a lot of fun. Sasha,
Yes,
send us away.
Yes, if you have enjoyed the show, please stand with us and pitch in as little or as much as you can through our Patreon. Every person who becomes a patron helps us tremendously. It helps us grow, and you get some super awesome perks along the way. You can sign up today at patreon.com/category5.
Nice. And I want to remind you as well, before we wrap up, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube. We are on there as Category 5 Technology TV for the full-length episodes. Or if you want just the snippets, like the little bite-sized pieces, you can go Linux Tech Show. But I would encourage you to subscribe to both.
Yes.
And that's because you want to receive those notifications when we're live, as well as when we post new videos. Whether you tune in every single week or not, it's nice to get those notifications so you know, oh, look, Category 5 Technology TV is live. Let's go there.
And I will say, the live show is kind of really what makes this so much more fun.
Well, see, you know that. Don't tell them that. The patrons know that. The patrons know that because they have access to watch it on demand.
That's right.
Yes.
But the live show has...
I know, but you want them to
Do we ever make mistakes and edit them out?
Never.
Never.
Never. We're pro.
Do we ever have
Amateur
bloopers
pros.
behind the scenes?
No bloopers.
No.
Never. But if you're a patron,
Then you know.
then you know, because you have access to that.
See, the odd time our little bloopers do make it on for those little clips,
Never.
and every once in a while I watch those just to kind of go back and go, that's so much fun.
Yes.
But the live experience is fun.
Oh, Yes.
That's
Absolutely,
what I keep
Jeff.
coming back for.
And I'm glad, because the news would be silent without you.
Well, thanks for being here, everybody. Have a fantastic week. Don't forget to check out our website, category5.tv, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.